Will Goldstein here, thekingscourt.com. Consider subscribing down there if you like these videos and you've been watching them. It'll draw more people coming to watch these videos. And also you can always check out my music, both songbooks and digital albums. All the links are at thekingscourt.com. So again, we're doing same book. We're going to be here for a while. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. This section he calls, in book 3, he calls social morality. So that's exactly what I'm going to call it. He starts off by saying, basically, concerning Christian morality between man and man, Christ did not come to preach anything new or any new morality. It's always been there. He doesn't list this, but I will. In Leviticus 19:18 says, love your neighbor as yourself. Now we all think of Christ as saying that, and he surely did. But I don't know how many people know that that was in Leviticus, that statement. He was borrowing that. So it has always been here. It's always been known to be the right thing to do. He uses the statement, do as you would be done by. So those are equivalents. And great moral teachers, he goes on to say, never introduce any new moralities. And then he says, only the quacks and the cranks, those are the ones that do. In other words, the truth has always been the truth, and the truth is absolute. So the real job of every great moral teacher is to just keep on going back time and time again to that same old truth, or those same old principles that have always worked in the past, and they will forever work because they're true. Christianity does not profess the saying, do as you would be done by, to only a particular society or at a particular moment. It's meant for all men at all times. It is rather a director to set people to the right course and to the right source of energy, and that will give them new life, if only they will put themselves at its disposal and do what it says. People say, the church ought to give us a lead. The church, he says, really means the body of practicing Christians. And then he says, some Christians who have the right talents, they should be economists and statesmen. And their whole efforts in politics and economics should be, just as he says, to do as you would be done by and put that into action. That should be their total focus. If that happened, we would find Christian solutions for our social problems pretty easily. When they ask the clergy to put out a political program, he thinks that's really silly. The clergy are not meant to do that. The clergy are trained to look after the concerns of the people, God's creatures, and set them on the course so that they are going to live forever. And when we ask them to do our tasks, we are asking them to do a different job than what they are trained for. The job is really on us, the laymen. We're the ones that are supposed to bring Christian principles to the trade unions and to the schoolmaster and write the Christian literature, not necessarily the clergy. God has given each of us the talents to do something for him. The New Testament gives a pretty clear hint of what a fully Christian society would be like. And He says there should be no passengers or parasites. If a man does not work, he ought not to eat. Paul said that in one of the epistles. Everyone's work is to produce something good. So we all have a task. We're all functions of this body, and we all should be contributing in one way or another, dependent on our calling and what our gifts are. Christian society is always insisting on obedience, and that is a mark of respect to people who are above you in authority. A cheerful society is full of singing and rejoicing, and courtesy is one of the Christian virtues, and the New Testament in general, he says, hates busybodies. Yeah, people out there just getting involved in everybody else's business. They should take care of their own business. If there were such a society, each of us would like parts of it, some bits of it, but very few, he says, would like the whole thing. We have departed from that plan in different ways. Each one of us would do that if we had the opportunity. Everyone is attracted to bits of it and wants to pick out those bits and leave the rest. I heard, what did I hear on the internet not long ago? A cafeteria Christian. Is that what he said? I think so. Cafeteria Christian. That's what a bishop, I think, said about. He said that about Biden. I think it was a cafeteria Christian. There's one bit of advice given by the ancient heathen Greeks and the Jews in the Old Testament, and also by the great Christian teachers in the Middle Ages, and that is, they told us not to lend money at interest. This is the basis, really, of our entire system. They called it back then usury. And these great civilizations, they all agreed, talking about people like Moses and Aristotle, and like I said, the Christians, they all agreed in condemning the very thing which we've based our whole life, which is creating a whole host of problems for a lot of people. What do you do when the payments on your credit card, everything is interest, you can never pay it down? It's very evil. So I pay off my credit card every month, down to zero. Everyone must work in order to give to those in need. Charity is an essential part of Christian morality. For many, the obstacle to charity lies in our fear of insecurity. So we don't want to give because we're afraid we don't have enough. Pride hinders charity, and we are tempted to spend more on showy forms, when we do, on showy forms of generosity like tipping and hospitality, and less really goes to those who really need our help. So what are the motives behind the charity that we do? Some people are very angry that it hasn't gone their way in the direction they want it to go in regards to what I just said. And some people have the opposite point of view, and they're angry because they think people are doing, it has not gone far enough. So are people spending too much on these charitable organizations and they're angry about it because they're greedy for themselves, or are they spending not enough? They should give more. So people just can't agree very well, can they? We're all sorts of people in this world. A Christian society is not going to arrive at this perfect society until most of it really want it. We are not going to really want it until we become fully Christian and live by the saying, do as you would be done by. A person cannot love his neighbor as himself till he learns to love God. He can't learn to love God except first by learning to obey him. So we're sort of in a dilemma here. We are driven to something inward, from social matters to religious matters. So he's approaching it like he just said. This is driving the social structure that we are in is dry, and these problems are driving us to the solution, which is a religious matter. And then he ends by saying the longest way round is the shortest way.